I'd say let's kick it off.
I'm
And
ready when you are.
all right. Well, everybody, welcome this afternoon to our second installment of kind of the introduction and explanation for setting up your CE broker account and just getting you familiar with it, as it will become mandatory in the very near future. Just to kind of give you a brief round of introductions for everybody here. Of course, I'm Daryl Spinks. I'm the executive director for the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council. Got Mr. Robert Romig. He's the deputy ED here. Robert and I will be, and Patrick Hyde is also here. I think he's appearing as me because he mooched off my link on my panelist link to get on this webinar. But Patrick's here with us today. That's going to be the BHEC staff, and I'll let Jason, Mr. Grubb here, he'll introduce his crew in just a moment. But just to kind of give y'all a little bit of housekeeping, this is obviously being presented via Zoom webinar. And if any of you are familiar with the BHEC Zoom webinars, you know that these things are capped at 1,000 attendees is the maximum that we can host on the Zoom. Same thing for the CE broker presentation. But Jason does have it set up so that if we exceed that 1,000 attendee cap, it will flow over into a YouTube live stream. So anybody trying to attend after that 1,000 person cap is hit, will get a link to the YouTube live stream that they can watch. This is being recorded. It's going to be posted to BHEC's website, and I think our YouTube channel after this. So if you have to duck out in the middle of this for whatever reason, the UPS man shows up or the sync backs up, whatever, that's fine. We've got you covered there. Just kind of a little bit more of housekeeping. Uh, the purpose of this is, or the reason we're having these webinars is because BHEC has partnered with CE Broker in order to provide an online continuing education management system. Now, for those of you that are familiar and have been attending our meetings, you know that I try to keep everybody apprised of what the statistics are for licensees in Texas. Right now, we're a little over 93,000 licensees under BHEC's regulation. That's a lot of folks. That's a lot of licenses to renew. And one of the reasons we have pursued a relationship with CE Broker is because we have one person, one renewal coordinator that is in charge of making sure all of you get your license renewed and all your auditing is done. That's really not possible. It's not going to be possible for much longer with this sheer volume of licensees. So we're having to leverage technology in order to keep up with the growth in these professions, in the behavioral health profession. So this is a project that we started years ago, 2-3 years ago, back when BHEC was very young. We learned very quickly that we were going to outgrow just the number of warm bodies we had available to manage this part of BHEC's jurisdiction. And so we realized we're going to need to leverage technology on this. So we put out requests for a proposal, or we bid it. And this was long before it was mandatory in the law. BHEC was going down this way, but we bid it. And the options or the requirements of that bidding were it couldn't cost us anything and it couldn't cost you anything. So what you're going to see today, the accounts you have, everything that you're going to see today does not cost you anything. It does not cost the agency anything. We don't receive any money from it. You don't receive any money from it, but it doesn't cost you anything either. It is designed exclusively to give you a better way to house and manage your own continuing education, and for us, a better way to police that you have actually completed the requisite continuing education. That's the only purpose. We own the data. CE Broker doesn't. I know there's a lot of questions about that. So your data is not being sold, and it does not cost you anything. I want to be very clear. I know maybe some of you probably this isn't something you would want. You're not keen on the idea of having to use a service like this, but this is happening. The rules have been changed to do this. BHEC has started down this path. We have adopted it. We are going to do it. So effective January 1st, 2026, everybody will need to have a CE broker account, or you will need to have one set up. And if you're renewing your license January 1st, 2026 going forward, if you're a January renewal and going forward, you're going to have a CE broker account. You're going to need to be uploading your CE proof of CE completion and certificates and everything so that when we do audits, we've got it there. If you don't have it set up, you will not be allowed to renew. Your license will not be allowed to renew. So that's one of the reasons why we have started doing these education efforts so far in advance, at least 6 months in advance. We wanted to give everybody a long enough runway to make sure you were all aware of it and that you had a chance to play with it, get it set up, get all the bugs and quirks worked out, and get a good understanding and grasp of how to do it. So we've given you at least 6 months. We're putting on 3 of these webinars. We have sent out multiple emails on our own. CE Broker they've got an automated system that will send out emails and let you know if you haven't set up an account. They're going to send out emails to let you know when your renewal is, so that you can make sure you're in compliance. There's a lot of effort that's being put into this to educate you and make you aware of what the requirements are. So there really shouldn't be an excuse for I didn't know about it or I wasn't aware of it when that renewal date comes. So I need everybody. These are professions. I need everybody to act professional and treat it as such as a professional requirement. Um, but again, we also know that it can be scary. It can be sometimes just aggravating dealing with change. I'll admit that, and that's why we're doing this. So you want to vent a little bit, that's fine. I'm used to that. That's okay. Jason, you're not going to hurt his feelings. You might hurt mine and Robert's, but you're not going to hurt Jason's feelings. But if you got any questions, ask us. Now, Robert has done a really good job. Robert and Jason have done a really good job of putting together FAQs, um, videos from the prior webinar we did, and just the Q&As that we had from the last session. So if you go to our website and you click on the renewals and CEs, the main button up there in the left-hand column of our website, it'll take you to the renewals and CE page. You scroll down where it says enter online continuing education or words to that effect. You'll see all this information that Robert's put on the website. He's done a really good job of trying to get ahead of the most common questions that we see. So please take advantage of that. Try to look at that before you start blasting questions here today. I'm hoping that you did, because we sent out that stuff ahead of time so that people could look at it. But if you still got a burning question or you still got an issue, don't hesitate to ask it today, because that's what Jason and all his crew are here to do. Jason, I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you introduce your crew, unless there's something I missed that you think I need to fill in the gap on.
I just want to make sure you may have mentioned it, but I may have missed it. The fact that we have microphones and cameras automatically disabled for licensees, and they can participate by submitting questions in the
Q&A.
I
didn't. I forgot to mention that. So yeah, folks, in order to do kind of effective time management with this large volume of people, we're not going to be able to do like the raise hand feature and let everybody ask questions, but we do have the Q&A enabled. Chat's disabled, but we've got Q&A enabled. And Jason's got several of his staff here manning it. Robert and I are going to be manning it. Patrick will be manning the Q&A. Jason and his staff will answer like the CE broker questions. Robert, Patrick, and I will answer the BHEC related questions. But we're not going to be able to do the raise hand feature because that eats up too much time. And we've got almost 900 people on this thing right now, not counting anybody that's watching on YouTube. So in order to get through this and get as many questions answered as possible, we need you to use the Q&A. It also helps us because we can log those questions for later and provide it to the public so that people don't have to. If you've already asked it, there's no reason for them to come and ask it again. So you might help somebody else by entering a question in the Q&A. So please use that function. Jason, I'll turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Daryl. And Robert and Patrick. Hi, everybody. My name's Jason Grubb. And as Daryl mentioned, I'm with CE Broker. Super happy that you all took the time to join us today. As Daryl mentioned, we're sitting at about 900 or so folks that are on this thing, and it continues to climb. So just really, really appreciative of you taking the time and your willingness to learn and just figure out more about the CE Broker platform. But just a kind of an overview of what I'm going to share with you all today. I'm going to provide just a general high-level overview of who CE Broker is, so you understand kind of who we are, a little bit just about our company, how to use the platform to report your hours, how you can find approved content, how you can review your course history, then maybe most importantly, where you can go for support and questions should you need it. This entire webinar is scheduled for, I want to say, 2 hours. However, the actual overview, the slides I have prepared for you, and the demo itself That's only going to last about 45 minutes or so. So that should get us to the top of this to 1 o'clock. Then that leaves a lot of time for Q&A. So I encourage you all to participate. If there's something lingering out there that you don't have clarity on, and we haven't addressed it already, please feel free to ask it. I know Daryl did kind of already lay some ground rules for the Q&A, but I'll just add again that I'm not here alone. I have some support staff with me. I have Deb Carter. She's actually in the room with me, sitting sitting over there. And our board support specialist, Kenya's on as well. And they'll be monitoring I think she's labeled as Deb in the title, but that's Kenya. They'll be monitoring the Q&A feed. They'll be answering questions directly there. And we'll also kind of compile some common questions to be answered aloud. But I did want to take a second here at the top of the presentation. Daryl mentioned that Robert had compiled some of the questions that came in previously, and I believe those were shared out with the participants ahead of this webinar. But I know how busy you all are, and so I would like to just kind of revisit some of those key questions, some of the kind of high-level ones, just to help ensure that your time is best spent being able to be present in the presentation and learning, and not feeling like you need to make sure that your question gets answered. So just a few of the high level ones that came up last time. Am I required to set up a CE Broker account? As Daryl mentioned at the top, yes, all licensees are required to set up a CE Broker account and to enter their continuing education hours onto the platform. And starting January 1 of 2026, a licensee will not be able to renew your license unless the CE Broker shows that you have met all of your continuing education requirements. We've done work to connect our system with the state's licensing system on the back end, where it's making that compliance call at the time of renewal. Another common question is, will the system remind you of CE deadlines? Yes, that's a convenience feature that is automated on our end. So as your renewal deadline nears, you will get renewal reminders from our system. And those renewal reminder emails will stop once either A, you have reached 100% compliance and you've done all your continuing education, or B, you have renewed your license, which you won't be able to renew your license until you've done all of your continuing education. But rest assured that once you've done what's being required of you, the renewal reminders will stop coming from the CE Broker system. A common question also is, will CE Broker be handling the renewal process itself and fee submission? And that's an important distinction to make. We are the board's continuing education management system. We are not replacing the state's licensing system. So the answer to that is no. Our system is only used to track and maintain your continuing education hours and records. But as far as renewing your license and fee submission, that will all still be handled through the existing state licensing system. Let's see, looking at some other common questions here. Oh, a common question, and we'll get into this a little bit later when I review the plans with you all. But specifically, does the basic account plan meet the board's requirements? And are licensees required to purchase one of CE Broker's premium subscription plans? The answer to that is no. The basic free account is the only account that you need to meet the requirements of the board. We have additional account options with convenience features that some licensees like to take advantage of. You are not required by any means to have one of those account options to meet the requirements of the board. Yes, if you start with the basic account, you do have the option to upgrade at some point in the future. So don't feel like you're locked into a specific account option at the time of account creation. Is there a way to identify and track multiple licenses, including licenses in different states? The answer to that is yes. I will show you how to add additional licenses under a singular CE Broker account as part of the demo. I'm just looking at some of the other common questions that came in that I can address here at the top. Can I access the platform on mobile devices? Yes, CE Broker has a highly rated mobile app. You can do just about everything on the mobile app that you can do on the desktop version. And I'll talk about that in a little more detail later as well. Robert or Darrell, were there any kind of standout questions from that document that you feel like it would be helpful to address here at the top?
No, I think you got them. Those are the big ones.
Yeah. I would just encourage people to look on our renewal website where we have the CE Broker material FAQs. You can actually see the document that Jason is talking from on that. Download it, take a look at it. It answers a lot of the questions, even that we're seeing here in the Q&A already. So.
Perfect. So I mentioned a little bit before, I wanted to just provide everyone with a kind of high level overview of who we are as a company. So CE Broker is but one product line powered by an organization called Propellus. And Propellus is focused on modernizing how healthcare professionals, their regulating entities, their employers, and other partners all work together for really seamless kind of compliant management experience. And we were conceived as a solution a little over 20 years ago out of a need from Florida's Department of Health to automate their continuing education requirements for all 33 healthcare boards and million plus licensees associated with that agency. And since then, we've grown. A couple other product lines underneath the Propellus umbrella. One is EverCheck. That's a credentials verification platform. It's used by hospitals and health system HR departments, essentially to verify that those healthcare workers are they're kind of clear to be out on the floor, kind of at any given day. Then Immuware. That's a comprehensive employee and occupational health monitoring software that also kind of lives under the Propellus umbrella. So I mentioned a little bit before about, kind of where we started, but obviously we've grown quite a bit since then, as we're now serving you all in the state of Texas. So we actually now work with a little over 300 agencies and about 5 million licensed professionals nationwide. That's across, I want to say 27 states, I believe. And then kind of somewhat unique to us is we have a vast network of education providers that we work with that we work with as well. A little over 6,500 education providers are registered on our platform and are reporting completions on behalf of their learners. Texas actually marks the 12th state whose mental and behavioral health licensees we serve. So there is a pretty good chance that some of your colleagues, peers, in some of the other states that you see here on the screen, they're already familiar with CE Broker, maybe already using us. And just me personally, I live in Colorado now, but I grew up just outside of Austin, a small little town called Jarrell. Still, Texas is near and dear to my heart, so I'm personally excited to see our platform now being available to those mental behavioral health professionals there in the state. And just a couple more slides here as far as an overview of our platform. I think it's important to emphasize that our platform is not just for you, the licensed professional. Rather, it's built kind of with all three, what we consider primary stakeholders in mind. So that's the licensed professional, that's the regulatory entity, BHEC and the associated professional boards within the Behavioral Health Executive Council, and then also the education providers. And so each of these stakeholders, they have a unique user experience when they log into CE Broker and kind of their own unique portal, so they can do what they need to do to complete their piece of the continuing education puzzle, as I like to say it. There are two primary ways that course completions get into CE Broker, the ways that those are reported, and I'll touch on this in a little more detail as part of the demo, but I think it's important to emphasize that those can either come into our system via self-reported submissions that you, the licensee, are inputting yourself, or they can get in via provider-reported submissions. And I alluded to this just a second ago, but if you're taking your continuing education from a provider that's registered on the CE Broker platform, they will report that completion for you. And so there's nothing that you need to do kind of after the fact to chase down a certificate and scan it into the system, et cetera. And then additionally, you might be wondering kind of how all this works. What is our, how is this a viable solution from a business perspective? As Daryl mentioned, if licensees aren't required to pay for our system and the system doesn't cost the state or taxpayers anything. So somewhat unique, we actually provide that solution is free to all the boards using our system. And then licensees and providers, there's free account options for them as well. But we're able to support that through a very small percentage of users that opt for one of the upgraded premium subscriptions. So we have several options for licensees to consider when using CE Broker. The first plan, that's our basic plan. This provides all the essentials that licensees need to track and find and report their continuing education. It's got a lot of rich CE functionality. We're adding to it all the time. We just rolled out some additional improvements to it just in the past week. And the vast majority of those 5 million licensees that are currently using CE Broker use the basic the basic free account. And like I mentioned before, this is the only one that is required of licensees to meet to do what the board's asking you to do. And so for those that do prefer some, additional kind of convenience features, we have some paid offerings across the professional and concierge account. So this is really for the professional that kind of just wants everything in one place. The professional plan, it's $39.99. One of the key features is the ability to access a personalized and dynamic transcript that as you report continuing education, it's doing the calculations on the back end to display what you're still deficient in, what hours are still outstanding, et cetera, so that you kind of have just maximum confidence that you're doing what's required of you. And then there's the concierge plan. You can see on the screen there, it's $124.99 per year. This actually comes with a dedicated account manager that will find, approved continuing education to meet your needs. They can help you report completions. They'll scan in documentation for you, basically do everything instead, outside of actually attending the continuing education, taking the course as well. Then just lastly, I mentioned, actually next to last, I mentioned the CE Broker mobile app previously. You can bring, CE wherever you go, whether you're on an Android device or an Apple device. You can, check compliance. You can snap a photo of a certificate and get that right into your CE Broker account, and to report CE from that conference you just attended, whatever the case may be. Like I said before, just about all the functionality that exists on the desktop version, you can do through the mobile app. And then lastly, I want to make sure that you all know where you can go if you have additional questions. So we take a lot of pride as a company in offering a dedicated in-house team of customer support specialists. So these are, Propelis employees. They're all based here in the United States, and they're available to answer your questions via email, via live chat. One advantage of the upgraded account options is you can get someone on the phone, but we also have a cadre of step-by-step tutorials, guides, videos, other documentation on the support page of our website as well. So if you need access to something, you need answer to something outside of the Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time that our support staff is available, chances are you can get a question answered there as well. So I think that just about addresses all of the slides that I had prepared to share with you all. So kind of the next part of the webinar here is actually walking you through the platform. So I'm going to do a couple things primarily. One is I will walk you through the account creation process, how you actually register with CE Broker for the very first time. And then I will show you what the user experience is like for someone who already has an account, how you can report your continuing education, how you can delete erroneous entries, how you can add documentation to something that was reported by an education provider, and essentially just cover all the basics that a licensee may need to do when using the CE Broker platform. But I'll just start by saying that everything that you do on the CE Broker, whether it's the licensee or the board staff or those education providers, as a web-based software solution, everything's done through cebroker.com, which you can see on the screen here. And if you're new to the platform and you need to create an account, you'll do so just by selecting the Get Started link here in green at the top right of the page. So we'll jump in here. We'll kind of walk you through this process. So because continuing education is unique, it's the requirements vary widely from state to state, from board to board, profession to profession. So the first thing is we need to know who you are to make sure that we're pulling up the associated record with your license number. So we'll jump in here. We're an individual in the state of Texas. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to say that we are a licensed professional counselor. We'll go ahead and click continue. And then we'll scroll down here and you'll see a few of the account options available to counselors. You'll see there's a fourth option there that I didn't reference previously. This option is only available to counselors. And so this is an additional tier called Pro Plus that actually includes in the annual subscription price access to a catalog of continuing education that's included in that price. It's not available for the other professions, whether you're a marriage family therapist or a social worker or a psychologist, unfortunately, just because of some of the national accreditation standards and the group of providers we work with to develop the kind of that packet of approved continuing education. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to make sure that we just jump in here to the free basic account and show you what that sign up flow is like. So CE Broker is really based on data that we get directly from the state on a daily basis. And so the way that our system is going to find you is based on your license number. And so you'll, once we know that you are a, LPC in the state of Texas, you just enter your license number here. So I think I have, let's see, 7 sevens there. And if you, make a mistake and you try to claim an account for an LPC with, in this example here, it's going to say, oops, an account already exists for that person, and it gives you the opportunity to go back in and say, oh, maybe I entered my license number wrong, maybe select the wrong profession. So we'll give it a second here. And the actual account that I want to use for this demonstration is 777-777-77. This is just a Jane Doe test account. Don't worry, I'm not using any live professional data here. We'll go ahead and click continue. We'll find the LPC that's associated with that correct license number. We'll select continue, and you can see here it is referencing exactly who this person is. So when you create your account, you'll be able to verify, yes, I'm an LPC in Texas. This is my license number. This is my name, so that you have kind of some checks and balances in place to make sure that you are creating an account for you before you go in and provide your email and create a username and a password, etc. So for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to drop in a test email here. And then we'll do. And you listen, make sure there's some basic, security requirements associated with the password. Just make sure that you're checking those boxes, and we'll create our account. And that's really all there is to it, to be able to jump in and create an account for the very first time. The sign up flow is very similar for the upgraded subscription services. It's just that there's a payment component to it as well, obviously. But for the free version, there is not. So if you get to a point and the system is asking you for credit card information, you have and you don't intend to pay for a professional account or for an upgraded premium account, you have gone down the wrong path. You need to, hit reverse and correct course, because the system will not ask you for a credit card if you're just trying to access the basic free account. So just a few things I want to orient y'all to with the account before I jump over to another account that I have created to actually walk you through the reporting process. So you'll see when you first log in, your license number, your profession, you'll see your existing compliance status. So this, for a basic account, is a binary complete, not complete. So you'll either see a green check mark or you'll see a kind of a red triangle, whether or not you have done all of your continuing education. You'll see some additional license details, your state, your license number, then the current CE cycle. So it's important to recognize that the cycle that is displayed here is going to be whatever current cycle you're in. So the system, all continuing education reported in the CE broker lives in the system going back to the beginning of time. And so you can view that down in the course history, but as far as, what cycle it's actually tabulating compliance for, whether it shows you as complete or incomplete, that's going to be specific to the existing cycle that's displayed here as well. So just an important little check and balance that licensees should make for yourselves. You scroll down as courses get into the system, you'll see them populate down here in the course history. I'll show you that here in a second with another account. You'll notice here there's another tab titled Requirements. If you click on Requirements, it's going to show you exactly what is required for you, your profession in the state of Texas. So you can see exactly that, LPCs in the state of Texas, they have, 6 hours of ethics. You can see how the jurisprudence exam, how human trafficking can count towards those 6 hours. You can see that there's the 3-hour requirement for distinct populations, supervision, and then kind of general CE remaining requirements. So you have maximum visibility into exactly what you need to do to meet your continuing education requirements. It's important to recognize that we are in right now the basic free account. This transcript is not dynamic. It's not going to change based on what you've reported. That's a functionality of one of the upgraded accounts where you get a dynamic transcript. And I'll show you that here in a little bit as well. Additionally, I want to make sure and orient you all to the fact that you can track for multiple licenses within one CE broker account. You don't need multiple CE broker accounts. You'll see a little drop-down menu or a little drop-down icon here. If you click on that, you'll see the option to add additional licenses. And so the only caveat being that it needs to be for a state in which CE broker is already working. So obviously, if you're an LPC and you're also, you also hold a license, as a psychologist or as a marriage family therapist or a social worker, whatever the case may be within BHEC, obviously all of those are in there. I referenced that slide previously of the other mental and behavioral health boards that we currently work with. So if you're licensed by one of those entities, you'll be able to add your license here as well. A couple other key things here. You'll see a settings icon here in the upper right-hand corner. This is where you can make some changes to the types of notifications that you get, your email settings, etc. So if I click on account settings, you can see you have a couple options here regarding email. So the public email, that's the email that's on file with the state of Texas that we get in a data file. If you want to change that email and make a different email your primary, so whatever communications you get from CE broker, the notifications you receive when an education provider reports something on your behalf, you have the opportunity to change that here. You just select the little edit icon here in the upper right of any one of these sections. If you need to change your username, your password, you can make those changes here. Then additionally, you have the opportunity to change whether or not you receive emails from CE broker for various things. So if you only want to get a notification in the CE broker platform, you can change this to no. If you want to get a notification in the CE broker platform and via email, you can change this to yes. So you have some autonomy there in figuring out what kind of messages or lack of messages you prefer as part of using the CE broker platform. Additionally, here you'll see the envelope. So this is essentially just an inbox. So there's no communications in here currently. This is a test account, but this is where you will see either notifications from within the system. So for instance, when you've successfully reported continuing education, when something has been reported on your behalf, when your account status has changed, if you've gone from a basic account to a professional account, whatever the case may be, you'll see that here. Then additionally, if the board ever has to reach out, as part of for auditing purposes or anything like that, you'll see that correspondence here as well. I think that about covers it. for the general overview for a basic account. Let me just look at my notes and make sure I'm not missing anything before we jump over to showing you everything associated with a test account that I have set up and how to report continuing education and et cetera. Okay, we're good there. So I am going to log out of this account. And now, we're going to pretend that we are an individual who already has a CE Broker account, and we want to log in, we want to check our compliance status, we want to report continuing education, et cetera. So I have a test account already set up for that purpose. You'll go to sign in, and you'll enter your username. I have a test example already plopped in there. This is a marriage family therapist. So you'll notice that it has I said it was a marriage family therapist. It is. It's just that this in this Jane Doe account, this person holds a license for every under all of the different professions under BHEC. So one thing to note is that if you do hold multiple licenses and you want to track all of those in CE Broker, our system is going to operate chronologically. So it's going to default to whichever account you initially, or whatever profession you initially created the account for. So you can certainly add these others, but if you needed to check on the compliance status under your social work license or your psychologist license, whatever the case may be, just make sure that you're toggling those, because it's just going to default to the one that you initially set the system up with. So you'll notice this view is a little bit different. So this is a professional account. This is an upgraded paid account with CE Broker. One of the key differentiators here is that instead of a binary kind of complete, not complete, this actually shows a completion or a percentage that you are, a percentage of which you are towards completing all of your continuing education requirements. So it's kind of a progress tracker, so to speak. Down here in the history, you can see stuff that's been already reported. And uniquely here, this is stuff that's been reported either by the individual themselves via our self-submission flow, or has been reported on your behalf by an education provider. So if we jump down here to, for instance, this test counseling course, this has been reported by an education provider, and you'll see exactly who posted it. This is a test counseling provider we have set up on the back end of the system. For what subject area it's counting towards, the date that it was submitted. Then because provider reported submissions don't have a document associated with them, you have the opportunity here to then go and upload documentation that ties to that provider reported submission. So if you want to use CE Broker as a document repository also, you can go in here and upload all your documentation and make sure it's all tied to stuff that's been reported on your behalf by those education providers. Then additionally, for an example of a self-submission that's in here, you'll see the details associated with that here at this point, for what category it was reported, when it was reported, how you, the licensee, answered the attestation questions that precede any situation where you would need to upload documentation. For the self-study requirement, or for the self-study option, documentation isn't required. And so that's why there's not documentation here. But if you did upload documentation, you would be able to see it and download it from this screen as well. And I'll show you that in a second. This is also where you would delete, do a couple things, either edit a past entry or delete and re-report a past entry. So you'll see here on the right, there's a little trash icon. This is just how you would delete the course. So if you accidentally deleted a course or if you actually accidentally entered a course for maybe the wrong profession, you meant to enter a course, for your counselor's license, but you accidentally entered it for your social work license, you would just need to go in here, delete the course, select the right profession for which you want to report it, and report it again. And you see the ellipses here to the right. If you click on this, you can actually edit the course. So you can't edit all the details of a past submission, but you can change things like the title of the course, the completion date, et cetera. Some of those basic things so that you don't have to delete and re-report it just because you made a little clerical error in the title of the course or something to that effect. Additionally, I will show you the transcript feature. So on the basic account, you remember that this section just said requirements, and it displayed that kind of static transcript showing you what your requirements are. An advantage of an upgraded account is this is a dynamic transcript. So you'll see this looks a little bit differently. It actually maps out exactly what's required, what's already been reported, what's still outstanding. And then additionally, you can view all of the past cycles as well. So because we just launched with the Behavioral Health Executive Council, there's only one cycle currently in the system, the current cycle. As our relationship continues and there's there's a number of renewal cycles in the system, you'll be able to go back and look at those past renewal cycles. But you'll see that it gives you the same visibility into your specific requirements, the subject areas, the general hours, et cetera. But it's tabulating things for you on the back end, so you don't have to do the mental math yourself. So let's say we're in a situation where, this licensee, they just completed some continuing education and they want to go in and do a self-submission. They want to report continuing education. Let me walk you through that process. You'll see here in the top, it just says report CE. I'll get to that in a second. But let's just, we're going to go here and we're going to report continuing education. This is going to take you to the basic self-reporting flow that exists for all licensees, regardless of your account level. So regardless if you have a basic account or an upgraded premium account, this part of the system works exactly the same. So it's going to show you the different categories for CE, whether it's recognized towards the 50% rule or not. If you want to report your jurisprudence exam or that you've done your human trafficking training, or if you want to report, some alternative method of demonstrating competency, like self-study, for instance, you have these additional kind of reporting flows as well. But to make things simple, we'll just go ahead and act like we're reporting CE that's recognized towards the 50% rule. If you have questions about what that might mean exactly, if you click on the Learn More section and look at the dropdown, it's going to tell you exactly what counts towards the 50% rule. So it's, those international, national, regional, state associations, CE that's been, provided by school district, charter schools, education service centers, et cetera, licensees with supervisor status. So it kind of really maps out for you so that you have confidence in knowing that the type of CE that you took and where you're reporting it, that's going to, in fact, be going to the right place. Then if you just want a little heads up about what's going to happen when you click this blue button, you can click how to report, and it's going to walk you through exactly what's required. So the system's going to ask you for the name of the course, the name of the education provider, how the course was provided, approved, endorsed, and you'll notice that these are just a reflective of what kind of counts as CE that's recognized towards the 50% rule. Then it's going to make sure that you're going to have to attach documentation associated with that with reporting that continuing education. So I'm going to click report. And it's just going to ask you for real basic information, which if you have the continuing education certificate in your hand, it's just a matter of transcribing that into the system. So we'll go ahead and we'll say the completion date is today. We'll say that this was a web-based kind of self-paced course. And let's say that this course was encompassed 2 hours of ethics and let's say 2 hours of general. We'll click continue. I'm just going to input test course for our demonstration purposes. And let's say that this course was provided by an Institute of Higher Ed. So you'll see that you can't get to the point of uploading documentation until you've answered those attestation questions. And that's something, those attestation questions are configured board by board based on what Daryl and his staff would like to see associated with those submissions. So just know that if you're using CE Broker for a different license or, for a different state, those attestation questions may appear differently because it's just really based on what information that the board would like to see. So we'll go here and we'll attach documentation. I'll just find a file. I have a test certificate here loaded on my desktop. Let me grab that real quick. Sample certificate. We'll load this into the system. And it's important to know that our system will accept essentially kind of any kind of image file. So whether it's a JPEG or PDF, PNG, etc. And we'll go ahead and click continue. You'll get a confirmation or first an attestation screen that, you're not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. The answers that you submitted, they're true and correct. We'll go ahead and select submit. And then you get a confirmation here. If you want to print this or download it for your records, you can certainly do that. If you need to report additional continuing education, you can click on here and it'll take you back to that reporting flow. Or you can just, if you just want to make sure that it went into your account, we can exit out of here. It'll take us back to the main account screen. And we'll see down here in the history, here is the test course that we submitted. So I mentioned before, you have some basic editing functionality here. So if we reported this and it was incorrect, you can click on the ellipses here. We can we can edit the course. So, let's say this was actually completed. We actually completed this last month, not this month. Like I said, you can change some basic information here. You can't edit the number of hours that you submitted it for, and you can't edit the way in which that course is approved. If you need to make those changes, that's a situation where you'll have to delete the submission and resubmit it. But some of those basic changes, they can be made right within the system here as well. And then if you need to document this either just for your own purposes, for an employer, for a national certification or something else, you can easily export this course history as well and just get a document showing all of that CE that's been reported under this specific profession. So like I mentioned, if you have reported CE under your social work license, for instance, you'll see that this only displays the CE associated with the social work license. Or if we go to that marriage family therapist example, well, this one doesn't have anything reported. I think there's some stuff under this psychologist license. Yeah, so this one has a lot of CE reported in there. So just to make sure, again, if you're tracking multiple licenses within a singular CE Broker account, that you're mindful of which specific license you're looking at when viewing your compliance status, the cycle, and the courses that show up in your CE history. Let me just look at my notes here and make sure I'm not missing anything on this. Okay, one thing I did miss is under the, sorry, two things. If you delete a submission, that will be visible under the removed section here down in the course history. So if you if you deleted something, but you wanted to revisit it to make, to look and see what the course was because you need to re-report it or something, or you can go here into the remove section and you can see anything that's been deleted. Then let me go over to the reporting flow again and just show you some additional components. So you'll see here on the reporting flow, again, making sure that you're reporting for the specific license in which you intend to report. But you'll notice there's another section here outlined additional options. So if we click on this, there are some exemption scenarios where a licensee doesn't have to complete continuing education. And this is where those will be submitted into the CE Broker system. So we can select the specific cycle. It's this current cycle. So as far as I know, Daryl and Robert, the only exemption is if if an individual is active military duty, you can submit that documentation that will essentially remove the continuing educations.
Correct.
For you.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and jump through this process real quick.
And Jason, I was answering questions, but have you mentioned that they can do that well in advance of the renewal too?
Correct. Yeah, it does not have to happen at the time of renewal.
Right.
Yep.
So so folks, if you know you're going to be deployed or something at the time of your renewal and you want to get your license, get it set up to where you don't have to fool with CE or anything, you can go ahead and submit submit proof that, hey, I'm on active duty. I'm going to be on active duty. I'm not going to be here when my renewal rolls around. If you can go ahead and send that stuff in, that way we can get it approved and it won't hang you up when renewal rolls around.
Exactly. So this exemption scenario, this actually does route to the board. The board will review it and they'll approve it. And then you'll see those continuing education requirements fall off of the transcript. But this is a great example to show how that may display in the notifications, the inbox folder that I showed you previously. So you'll see everything that's been, essentially any transaction that has happened in the system is documented here under the notifications tab. So you'll see that when, self-reported continuing education, when providers report completions on your behalf, that's all documented here. Then if there were ever communication between the licensee and the board related to continuing education, you could see that here under the communications tab. So for instance, this active duty military submission, that's documented here under the communications tab as well. But you have a high level of visibility into kind of where any transactions and where kind of outstanding actions may currently stand. So let me show you where licensees can go to find continuing education. So let's say it's not a situation where you have a certificate in your hand that you're trying to get into the system. It's a situation where you want to go and use CE Broker's course search to find continuing education. So you'll see a tab here at the top that just says Find Courses. We'll click on Find Courses, and it's already set up to be an LPC in the state of Texas. And you can view a whole host of courses that are either available to complete directly on the CE Broker platform, or courses that you can register. You'll find the course on our system, but it's going to route you to that provider's webpage to maybe register for a conference or to pay for the course or otherwise complete the transaction outside of CE Broker. But if you see any courses with the green Take It Here button, that means that the entire experience will happen right here on the CE Broker system. You'll pay for the course on the CE Broker system, and the completion will immediately populate into your CE Broker account. It's going to generate a certificate for you as well. And I'll just stress that CE Broker, we are not creating continuing education. We're not creating these courses. We're not approving these courses. We're simply the place that education providers come to host their content. So I think that's an important distinction to make. I think you'll see some of these. It'll say Pro Plus. That just is your kind of cue that course is included in that Pro Plus tier of account options that I showed earlier in the webinar. That's available currently to only the counselors and not the MFTs, psychologists, or social workers currently. But you have some basic filtering criteria here. So if you, like I said, only wanted to see courses that were available under Pro Plus, you could do that here. If you wanted to sort by education provider, you could do that here. If you wanted to sort by subject area, for instance, you could do that here if you only wanted to find courses that met the ethics requirement, for instance. So some basic search functionality to help ensure that you're able to, to quickly get to the courses that you're most interested in or that you need. Then additionally here, I want to make sure that you as licensees know where you can go for help and support. So you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner of the account, this little question mark icon. If you click on that, well, it's going to show you a few things. It's going to show you, where you can view like release notes, product updates that we have, new features, etc. If you need some basic step-by-step guides, you can view those here. If you just need to get straight to the help center and get in touch with support, you can go straight there. So under the Contact Us tab, you'll see how you can submit a ticket, how you can contact us. You can initiate a live chat down here in the bottom right. It's gonna start with our AI tool. Her name's Julie. She's named after our longest standing employee. She's been here for over 20 years. And based on those prompts, if it then needs to route to a live agent, you'll be able to get to a live agent. So again, whether you like to interact via chat, or you want to submit a ticket or reach out via email, there's a bunch of different options for you to make sure that you're getting the support you need. Or like I said, if it's outside those Monday through Friday, in your case, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, we have a whole bunch of resources available, kind of ready to go materials. If you click on the Licensed Professionals tab here, and you have issues logging in or creating your CE broker account, if you need to know how to upgrade your account, or report continuing education, kind of whatever it is that you need. Let me find a good example. Here we go. Report continuing education. So it's going to show you a how-to video. It's going to give you the verbiage and the step-by-step instructions with screenshots to show you exactly how you need to navigate the platform. So I think we've done a really good job of trying to capture just about every type of common question or issue with these resources. But again, if you're not able to find something here, reach out to one of our agents either via the email submission, the ticket submission process, or via live chat. I think we're just at about the top of the hour, and that's about all that I had to share with you all. So I guess an initial question I have is, Daryl, Robert, Deb, Kenya, is there anything that I didn't cover that you think I should touch on, or if I didn't provide clarity, go back and revisit?
Did we touch on the carry forward?
We have not yet. That's a great question. So
Okay.
do you want me to explain that, or would you like to do that, Daryl?
No, I'll let you do it. The carry forward, and then I think you touched upon it would be better if we also went over again about what you can edit on an entry on a transcript versus when you have to delete it and just enter it anew. We've had some questions on here about folks who've entered something and then they misentered it, and they're trying to figure out how to fix that. And sometimes you can edit, sometimes you have to just delete it and enter it anew.
Great.
What everybody needs to hear from what I just said and what Jason will explain, don't get overly excited. It's an easy fix. It's just going different ways around the barn, but don't get worked up because it's an easy solution either way.
Yeah, great point. So to the first thing you mentioned is the carryover hours. So licensed professionals within the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council can essentially bank, for lack of a better word, or carry over up to 10 hours from a current cycle into a future cycle. So, if you need 40 hours, but you've done 58 hours in this example here, 10 of those hours can count towards your future renewal. And it's important for licensees to know that I mentioned before the transcript cycles here. So, and I don't want to get too in the weeds about how the functionality works, but our system, like I mentioned before, is built on data that we get from the state. So we don't actually display a new continuing education cycle for a licensee, a transcript cycle, until you have renewed and we get a new expiration date in the data that comes from the board. So your carryover, so even though you can bank hours, because there's not a future transcript in the system, CE Broker essentially just holds on to those 10 hours kind of in the background. And it's important for licensees just to know that those are kind of living in the CE Broker system. Once we get a new expiration date and we can generate a new transcript cycle for you, then those 10 hours will populate into that new transcript cycle. Was there anything else on that point that I know, Robert, I think we had talked before about the mapping associated with that and kind of where, the diligence that a licensee may need to exercise in knowing kind of where they're reporting those hours and where they're going. Do you want to elaborate? You explained it really well at a board meeting recently, so I'm curious if you wanted to explain that here as well.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So yeah, the carryover is not specific to any particular hour. And so the system is automatic, and so it's not something that you can simply go in and choose, well, I want this particular course to carry over. What it will do is, as you fill up the required categories of CE, once you have hit the completion mark, the next 10 hours will be what carries over. And so you may get your 3 hours of ethics and then choose to take another 10 hours of ethics and then fill up the remainder of your, say, 30-hour requirement with other courses, and then take another just general course. Well, that last general course is what will carry over. If you want the extra ethics to be carrying over, it needs to be what you report last, or at least after you've completed your requirements. So that may require you to go in and sort of change the order that you submit.
That's a great point.
I think that one other thing I want to mention, because on this topic, people have been asking about, is I understand previously there's been some talk when it was informally tracked that if you took CE during your renewal month, that it could go ahead and count toward that next cycle. But with the CE broker system now, we're having you put in what date it was. And so that renewal day is the timing that matters for when you report. And although you can roll over some, other than the rollover hours, the rest of your CE needs to be taken after your renewal date. You cannot bank a bunch of courses before your renewal date and then have them apply. You can only roll over 10 hours. That's the max that will allow you to do that. And so going forward, you really need to complete the CE during the cycle that it's intended for.
Robert, there's one thing we want to talk to folks about, and that is if you are carrying forward hours from prior to the CE broker. So this is, okay, what I'm about to say, I want it bookmarked in this video. Not to you, Jason, but just for the public that's watching this. If you are going to carry forward hours into a renewal cycle where you have to use CE broker, it is not going to let you enter hours from a renewal cycle that occurred prior to our adoption of CE broker. And there's a reason for that, and I'm not going to get into it here. It's a database issue thing. But what you're going to have to do for, let's say you're renewing in January or February, and you want to bring hours in from your prior renewal cycle, CE broker is not going to, if you try to enter the actual date that course was taken, it's not going to let you bring that in because those hours did not occur within the current renewal cycle for which you are renewing. And so you're gonna have to fudge a little bit on the date that you're gonna have to pick a date within your current renewal cycle and say that you took those hours there. That is the only time that kind of fudging, fibbing is going to be allowed. So whoever hears this, you do not get liberal in the application of this, because I will come back to haunt you if you try to take my words and extend them beyond what I'm saying here. So for this first batch of folks renewing, really, I guess for this first, is it year or 2 years, Robert, you think?
I guess two-year cycle.
Yeah, the
For
first
anybody. Yeah.
2 years that we're using CE broker, if you're trying to use hours that you accrued in your 10 hours from your previous renewal cycle, you can give them a date within the current renewal cycle and carry them forward. But anybody beyond this next 2 years, I don't ever want to see this conversation come up again. And if you've got any kind of questions about what I am saying now, and I realize it's a difficult concept to get, and I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining it, but we'll try to create an FAQ and put it out there about how to do this. But I know this is going to come up, so we'll try to put it together an FAQ for those of you that want to use CE hours from your previous renewal cycle that weren't aware you could carry forward, because I'm seeing those in the Q&A. There is a way to do it. We'll try to put together some instructions on how to do it. But it's just going to be a very limited, it's going to be the one time where you can kind of tell a fib on your course description that you upload and it not come back to haunt you. But I'll do a better job of explaining it in the written FAQs we'll put together. One other thing, Jason, I'm seeing come up in the Q&As is some people are saying they can't enter half-hour increments. I think we allow quarter-hour incrementing up to quarter, or there's a little less quarter-hour increments. Am I right?
I believe that's right. I have to go back and look at the documentation, but I believe it's
Yeah.
So
So I'm not sure the folks that are having trouble with the half hours, I'm not sure without a little more context of what your problem is, I don't know how to answer your question really in the Q&A.
One of the issues could be, for self-study, for instance, I think there's a limit on the number of hours. And I think is it
One.
1 hour? So maybe it could be a situation where they're trying to enter 1.5 and that's why they're getting an error because it's over the one. Similar, there's a couple other maximum number of hours allowed. I don't have them in front of me, but I think there's another reporting option where it's a maximum of, is it 5 hours for another one?
Yeah, if you do for putting together a CE presentation.
That's right.
Human trafficking is another one. If you get 3 hours. If you go through a 3-hour course, you're only going to get 1 hour of credit for human trafficking.
That's right.
I've already answered a few of those. So
yeah. So I'm wondering if the limitation isn't so much the incremental nature of the hours, but it's above what's allowed for that.
Yeah.
It could be.
That's why without some greater context for their problem they're having, I don't know how to answer that question. So we're not ignoring y'all. It's just we don't know how to answer it without get a little more context.
And that's a great situation. If you're entering, if something's not, if the system's not accepting and what you're inputting for some reason, that's a great opportunity to reach out to our support staff. And one nice thing about using the chat actually, as opposed to phone or another one of the mechanisms, is you're able to share screenshots and provide some additional documentation and stuff. So it just gives added visibility to help ensure that our agents can assist you as quickly as possible. But Daryl, you had mentioned something else, doing a little bit of a deeper dive on how to delete courses and then resubmit them. So, because I know I touched on it, but I didn't actually walk through the process. So I can certainly do that here. But we'll see, for instance, this test course. I mentioned before, there's you can do it in a few ways. So either you can click the drop down, and then you can delete it here. Whoops. Or you can delete it directly from the ellipsis. So if there's a list here and you just want to easily go through and delete a bunch of them for whatever reason, you can do that from here. Or if you click the drop down, you'll see the little trash icon, and you can delete that entry here as well. So we can see, for instance, in this situation, well, let's do the self-study one as a good example, actually. So we can see, if we go to this individual's transcript, we can see that their self-study course that they submitted is counting for the maximum allowed, which is 1 hour. And we can go back. So it's important to note, you cannot delete submissions from the transcript. It has to be from the history. So if we go back over to the overview, we go to the history, we find that self-study submission, and we want to delete it. We go back over to the transcript, and you'll see that it disappears off the transcript. We are missing that 7th hour that had previously applied. So, for instance, that's a situation where maybe we had the date wrong or something along those lines, or the number of hours, and we wanted to re-report it. So then it's just a matter of going back to the reporting flow. We can go back down to that self-study submission. And again, those nuances with, respect to like how many hours you're allowed to submit for a specific category, for instance, that's that's this display down here. So you'll see very clearly maximum number of hours of 1 hour for, authoring a book. It's a maximum of 5 hours, et cetera. So you can ensure that you understand what those limitations are before you even kind of go down that path. But, very similar to the reporting flow I showed you previously. We'll click report. We'll select the submission date. We'll just say that it was today. We'll say that we want it to count towards an hour of general. Again, understanding that this is not CE that's recognized towards the 50% rule. This is self-study submissions. And let's say I try and enter in 2 hours, for instance. If I hit continue, it's going to give me that warning saying that, hey, it has to be between 0.5 and 1. You can't do that. So let's just say we want it to count for a half an hour. We'll drop that in there, and we'll say reviewed peer article or something to the effect. I'm sure there's a lot of things that would count as self-study, but that would be a common one. Was it related to the practice of professional counseling? We'll say yes. And then I mentioned before, this is a situation where documentation is not required, because what would be the documentation? I mean, I guess you could send a picture of the journal article you read or something to that effect, but this is a reporting option that does not require evidentiary documentation. So we'll just attest that, yes, I'm being honest, essentially. We'll click submit. Again, there's a confirmation of that, and then we can go back and view the transcript, and we'll see that that then displays, that half hour displays under the self-study option. Was that helpful, Daryl? Is that what you wanted me to highlight? How to delete a course and re-report it?
Yeah, that was helpful, and we got several questions about that. A few other questions that folks had. I just want to reference first as a global one. We've answered 163 questions. We have 140 more on here. A lot of the ones we are skipping and missing are folks who are asking about the particular course they are uploading, or they're trying to create their account right now. I'm sorry, but we can't help you create your account right now as we're on this webinar, and we cannot answer everyone's individual specific question. If you're trying to create it right now and upload CE right now, maybe wait until after the webinar is over. If there are 700 people trying to do it all at the same time, that may not be very successful. In terms of some of the bigger questions we got, folks who are asking about what type of mode the courses were in that they have and how they should report, whether it's live in person or on demand or broadcast. Choose whichever category fits best in your mind. We do not have rules that require certain types of categories. That is there to just provide information about how you received it. I think someday we may look at that data to just see how people are receiving their CE, but it will not stop you from uploading whichever category you choose.
Yeah, that's a great point, Daryl. That's just or Robert, I'm sorry. Some of the boards that use the CE Broker platform, they do have limitations on the number of, half the hours have to be live in person or whatever the requirements may be. And that's just a limitation of our system to some extent, that it has to display whether it's live or anytime hours. And that just carried over to the implementation for the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council, despite the fact that there's not an actual, in-person or anytime delivery restriction.
Several other questions asked about what should you upload, particularly for things that don't have a certificate, or even for things that do. Just generally, upload the certificate if you've gotten a certificate. If it's a conference, you can use the same certificate, even if you need to split out how you report it. So if you went to a conference and it had 12 hours of credit, and you're reporting a few for ethics and a few for supervision and a few generally, you can upload the same certificate for each one. It can reflect all of it. For self-study, if you're getting that hour of credit for self-study, you do not have to upload anything because self-study is that's what it is. You're self-studying. For anything else, please just upload something rational that you you think shows what you did. If it is you wrote a book, upload a cover or description of the book. Don't upload the entire book. Congratulations. We love that you did that, but I don't have the bandwidth to read that many books. If it's a seminar you went to, upload some proof of the seminar. If you were teaching a graduate course or you were teaching CE, upload the syllabi, upload the agenda. We will accept whatever you would normally think is logical proof of what you did. A lot of questions about how to report the different categories of hours. And so just to be clear, if you hold multiple licenses, you can count the same CE for both licenses if it's relevant to both licenses. And so in that way, you can double count. You have a 3 hours ethics for your LPC. It can be the same 3 hours for your LMFT license. However, within the license, you cannot double count across specific categories. So you will have to choose, was that 1 hour that you took of ethics, ethics as a supervisor, are you counting it toward your supervision requirement or your ethics requirement? You'll have to choose. You cannot count 1 hour twice for that. You can split. So if you go to a 4-hour course on technology and supervision, you can choose 2 hours to go to technology and 2 hours to go to supervision, or 1 and 4, or 1 and 3. That's your choice, but you can't double count. And so again, just add the same certificate for each time you report it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Robert. And just one additional component there is our system is configured to allow overages to roll over to kind of the general CE requirement. So if you've gone over your the 6 hours for ethics, for instance, or the 3 hours for distinct populations, or if you've gone over your supervision, that's ethics, for instance. If you report 10 hours of ethics, the 6 that are required will go to ethics. The other 4 will roll over to your kind of remaining hours required. And you'll if you have one of the upgraded account options, you'll see how that's broken down on the transcript. If you have a basic free account, you'll see that in the course history, obviously, but you won't necessarily see it populating to those additional kind of remaining hours required categories.
We also had a number of questions about the 50% rule. And for those who are asking what the 50% rule is, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little chagrined that you don't already know what that is. Please go read your board's continuing education rules. It has been the rule for quite a while now. The rule lists out what number of hours you're required to have, and that half of those hours must come from a specific provider type. Those provider types are listed in the rule, and it is up to you to determine whether the CE that you received meets one of those provider types. They are broad categories. You're not going to have to ask the person who taught your CE for their resume. You'll know whether they meet one of these types of providers. And when you upload your CE into CE Broker, it's very clear to choose whether the CE counts toward the 50% rule or doesn't. It also, for those asking, I don't know how prevalent this is, but for those who are asking about the jurisprudence, if you took the jurisprudence to get licensed, that's a separate thing. You do not get CE credit for that. If you want CE credit for taking the JP, you must retake the JP in the renewal cycle you're in. Please don't upload your JP score from back when you got licensed the first time. That doesn't count. We got that a number of questions. Jason, we got a number of questions, and can you talk about what folks should do if they have multiple licenses, some of which are in CE Broker, but some are not? We've got some folks who, for example, have LCDC licenses in Texas that aren't on CE Broker yet, folks who are in other states. Particularly, they're wondering about, is there a way for them to print out their transcript or provide information to that other state board? What do they do there?
Yeah, sure. Let me log back into the test account we had here, and I can show you. Everyone can still see my screen, right? Logging in. Okay.
Mhm.
So there's a couple options. If you just want to export the course history, I mentioned this before, but there's the easy export button. We'll just click on this. It's going to export a PDF, and you'll essentially have all of that course history in a single document. But it's important to know that the course history is everything that you've ever reported for this license specifically, going back into the first time we reported something into CE Broker. So it's just going to capture everything as part of that export. If you have an upgraded account and you have this dynamic transcripts view, you can export just this specific just the transcript for this specific cycle, which is an advantage. And it's going to have that broken out for you by subject area and the number of hours, et cetera. It's going to be a little more readable by someone who, if you're sending it to another board that's not on our platform, or you're sending it to a national, certifying body, or whoever else you're trying to, highlight the CE that you've completed. That's just something to keep in mind. So you can export that information in two different ways. It's going to be a little more visible if you have an upgrading account and you're exporting just the transcript for that specific cycle versus exporting it for an entire course history, for instance.
And Jason, we were getting some more follow-up questions on the sort of renewal cycle and the rollover. When people renew, is their renewal cycle tied to their specific date, right? It's not tied to when they actually renew, but it's tied to their birth date and when the birth month, the last day of the birth month.
Correct. Yep. So the way that our system works is we calculate your CE cycle based on the board's rules and the data we get from the board. So there's a few kind of exceptions and caveats that I don't think we need to get into here, but in general, licensees have a 2-year cycle, right? And so the data that we get from the board displays an expiration date, and so we will essentially our system will tabulate your cycle and display that 2 years prior to the expiration date. But my understanding is that the board assigns expiration dates based on a licensee's birth month. And so if you're, the example I have here on the screen, if you're born in the month of July, your expiration date is going to be July 31st of every year. So you may renew in June, for instance, but when you renew, and then we get a new data file from the board the next day that has in this example, your 2028 expiration date. It's going to show the 2 years prior to July 31st.
Exactly. And so for those of you who had questions about when you can take CE, if your license is up for renewal coming up in let's say March, and so your renewal is due on March 31st. You have to have your CE completed by March 31st. And any CE that you have completed before March 31st, if you upload it and you have the extra rollover hours that are within this time period, those will roll over into your next cycle, the 10 hours. And so once you renew, those will show up on your rollover. But let's say you renew at the beginning of March, or even you're on the ball, you renew in February sometime. You cannot start taking CE for that next cycle until after March 31st. You cannot jump the gun and get CE done early. You have to wait to do it in the cycle that you're renewing. Now, what Daryl was saying is that just for this time, we recognize that some of you that are renewing in January, February, March, you may have some extra coursework that you were going to roll over that was back in 2023, for example, and was rolling over to this cycle. But CE Broker right now won't let you enter that 2023 date because that didn't exist in the system. So just for this first renewal, you can pretend and enter in a date that's in this 2024-2025 cycle. Going forward, it will automatically do it for you, and so you do not need to fudge the date. So I'm just repeating that again, for the one narrow reason that you would put a different date in.
That's right.
So those are all the big ticket questions. I know we still have a lot open, but I think we have explained it. If your question has not been answered, I would really encourage you to read the answers of the prior other people's questions that have been answered, because I'm seeing a lot of repeats that I think we will have answered.
I also I want to take an opportunity. I see a lot of questions about, is the VA an approved provider, or are you got a partnership with ACA or NBCC? Folks, you I'm trying not to get frustrated here, but I need y'all to read the rules. I need you to read the rule that governs your continuing education, because it sets out a list of approved providers, or providers that we recognize as meeting the 50% requirement. All of these questions about, will this be acceptable from this provider, are answered in that rule. And it's just a little disconcerting that we're getting so many questions that are easily answered from reviewing the rule. There's a lot of folks I can tell that just are not reading the rules. And so I really need y'all to look at those rules, because that's what's governing what is acceptable and what is not. So please look at that. That will help out immensely.
Is there anything else that I can show or highlight that you think would provide some more clarity?
I know you covered this at the beginning of the webinar, but I did see a few questions saying that they weren't able to register because the nursing profession was the only one coming up. So if you wouldn't mind just going over the straight up registration process one more time, just in case the nursing profession is popping up for some reason.
Sure, happy to. Okay, so if we go, let me sign out of this. So to create an account, you click on Get Started. Got to make sure that you're selecting the state in which you are licensed. So in this case, Texas. Then pick your profession. You'll see a whole bunch listed here. It's important to know that, nurses in Texas, those licensed by the optometry board in Texas, and those licensed by the medical board in Texas are all professions that can use the CE Broker system. So you may see, any profession type associated with those other agencies displayed here. Some of these are associated with the medical board, some of these are associated with the Board of Optometry, some are associated with nursing, for instance, but obviously for the Behavioral Health Executive Council, the options are licensed professional counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist, psychologist and school psychologist, licensed psychologist and school psychologist. And what's the one? Then am I missing one? Licensed social worker. And so you should be able to see, like, for instance, the licensed professional counselor option here, and click on that. And it'll take you into the registration flow. You'll select sign up. And it's important to note that the same license number is could likely be used by one of the other professional boards within BHEC. It could be used by, the optometry board or the medical board. And so that's why when you enter in the license number in this, 777 example, and you select continue, it's going to show you the different options available to you. So it could display a nurse here. It could display, a physician assistant here. So it's incumbent on the user, on the licensee, to make sure that you're selecting the one that is specific to you. If you don't know your license number, and oh, sorry, I got to go back. If you don't know your license number, we have this helpful link here. This takes you, so you'll see that kind of some of the other options listed here. So if you don't know what it is, it links directly to the license verification page on the board's website. So you can jump in here and make sure that you know exactly what your license number is, so that you're inputting into the system and our system can find you. Do you feel like that is helpful in addressing that question, Kenya?
Yeah, I think so. And then, of course, if anybody else is seeing nursing or any other profession pop up, I always recommend contacting CE Broker support, and we can get to the bottom of why you're not able to register.
One other thing, just similar along that, for my social workers out there, regardless of whether you're an LCSW, LBSW, or MSW, you will select the licensed social worker. There's not a distinction in your, I guess, the account type on CE Broker. So like for psych, there's licensed psychologists, and there's licensed or school psychologists and licensed psych associates. There's a little bit of differentiation there, but for social workers, it's just all licensed social workers, because the requirements are the same for everybody. So that's just a little FYI.
Anything else, Kenya?
The only other one that I saw a couple of times was the classic question of, if you have multiple licenses and your CE will apply to both licenses, are you required to upload the certificate under each license individually? I know that pops up a lot.
Yeah, that's a great point. Currently, let me just log into that example. And I can show. So, currently our system does require that licensees report continuing education independently for each respective license, that which continuing education will apply. So there is some functionality that exists within our system for some other professions based on how those that continuing education is approved at a national level. I'm thinking of the medical profession, for instance, and they have their AMA Cat 1 hours that are all approved by the ACCME, for instance. We have some flow and some functionality set up where certain professions, they can report CE for one license and it will populate to other licenses because of that national kind of approval model. That does not exist currently for LPCs, psychologists, marriage family therapists, or social workers currently. So yes, it does create some additional work for the licensee, but you will have to go in here and report, for instance, your ethics for the LPC license. Then we'll jump in here and you would select the psychologist license. You're complete in this example, but make a mental stretch for me. You would then also report the ethics requirement for this license as well. And then do it for the other professions if you have other licenses within the system. One thing that I would maybe suggest or recommend, just to ease that pain a little bit, because I recognize that is a bit of a pain point, is maybe having the different accounts pulled up so you can log in to your psychologist license in one browser. You can log into your social worker license in another browser. And I'm saying browser here instead of window or tab, because the way that cookies are set up, it's not going to let you. I can't be logged into my account as a psychologist in this tab, than my social worker in another tab. You have to use a different browser, the way that cookies are set up, or incognito mode. So I would recommend using like a Chrome and a Firefox, or a Chrome and a Safari. And if you have those different accounts pulled up, then it's a lot easier to be able to transcribe that information as you're reporting for your social work license. You can jump over and you can just input the same information for your psychologist license, for instance, whatever the case may be, and that will help streamline things a little bit.
Another question I've seen a couple of times, not really related to the system, but just to let everybody know, unfortunately, no, this webinar itself is not credited for CE. This is meant to help y'all understand the new system. Doesn't itself count for continuing education. Another I want to mention, we've said again, but just to reiterate, each of the account types is fine for you to choose. You can choose the basic account, a pro account. I forget now the name of the other type, concierge. That is up to you. And as Jason said, CE Broker itself does provide a platform for finding CEs. But please know that they are not managing the CE content or offering a way to guarantee you get all the CE you need. They are simply a platform offering providers a way to provide you CE and get you in touch with those providers. It is still up to you to curate and decide which CE you take and make sure you've taken enough. Simply choosing the pro account or the concierge account is not a magic wand that will grant you access to somehow a curated, here are the CEs you need to take, and that's not what that's for. So it still does require you to take some initiative and choose what CEs you want to take, and then report them. And essentially, the pro and the concierge, the added services that you pay for are more about assistance on that reporting side, giving you assistance.
Yeah, that's a great point, Robert. And I'll just stress, I talked about the Pro Plus option that's available to counselors currently. Let me just go to that as an example. Just piggyback on what you just said. So I mentioned before that we do have an additional account tier available for counselors, Pro Plus, that it does include it includes access to a catalog of courses. I want to stress that there's like 500 plus courses in there, but it's not curating it saying you take this course for ethics, take this course for supervision, take this is a human trafficking course. It's just giving you, it's just saying that the courses that you choose as part of that package are included in the price, but it's not a curated thing. So it's still, like I said before, incumbent on the licensee to make sure that you're finding and completing courses that meet your specific requirements.
Jason, can you again explain why is the Pro Plus only available for counselors? The other ones are all available for all the licenses.
Right.
But
Yeah.
what is...
Yeah, it's a good question. Essentially, it comes down to how we can ensure that the courses that are included in a bundle and like the Pro Plus account option, the courses we work out with those education providers, that those education providers are approved either at a national level through an accrediting body, or they have approval from every single board that we work with. And it just so happens that the way that courses are approved for the counseling profession fits into that category a little bit more nicely than, for instance, some social work, social work courses or psychology that sometimes have independent board approvals with some of the other states that we work with. And so really it just comes down to, from a business perspective, making sure that is an account offering that we can provide to not just counselors in Texas, but counselors in Tennessee or in South Carolina or in Kansas or any of the other mental and behavioral health boards that we work with. And so it just has to do with the national applicability, really more so than anything. The other thing I'll mention, just because I'm on the home page here, like I said, usually you will go to sign in or the get started page, but you can also access the support resources I shared before. Give it a second to load. Whoops. You can access the support resources through the licensee account, but you can access the course search that I showed previously directly from the page. You can access our company blogs. We have a bunch of different articles, case studies about how we're working with other licensure boards, other professions, national associations as well. So, to the point that came up earlier about if someone is licensed in a state that's not using CE Broker, and you like the experience and you would like that state to adopt the platform, you have some visibility here into kind of where our footprint currently exists and where we've yet to expand. And to the extent that you wanted to bring CE Broker as a solution to those other boards to make your life easier as far as reporting goes, et cetera, this could be a good resource to maybe find some of that information.
Well, this may be premature, but I'm getting the sense that we're close to wrapping up because I think we've answered most of the questions, even though there's several repeats. But I did just want to say that for those who are still with us, if you didn't get your specific question answered, there of course are still ways to get that answered. For one, if it's a question about the board rules and requirements and what we are requiring in terms of creating an account, you are of course welcome to reach out through our website, the BHEC website. There's a contact us page, and please do reach out through that form. It will get you in touch with probably ultimately myself or Daryl or Patrick. And we can answer those questions. And then for the many of you who have questions about actually signing up and getting your account created and getting things uploaded, I know Jason showed the slide about the contact us and help us. CE Broker has that help function in the customer service. I don't know, Jason, you want to remind folks where they can go for that information?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Oops, let me sign out this real quick. Oh, hang on, I'm in the wrong screen. Okay, here, let me share my screen again. So the easiest way to find it is if you are in your CE Broker account, you'll see an icon here in the bottom right with a question mark. Click on that. It's going to show you a few things. But if you go to hang on. Oh, there we go. Help Center down here at the bottom. So if you click on Get Support, it's going to take you to the support page of our website. And if you want those kind of tutorials, those guides, step-by-step articles that are available to you 24/7, those are all available under the Licensed Professionals tab. And it's kind of sorted by category. So if you have questions, for instance, about reporting continuing education, for example, this is the same one that I showed previously. But you have access to those here. Then if you want to reach out to an agent and get an issue resolved, you'll see the Contact Us tab here. You can either submit a support ticket, gives you step-by-step instructions for how to do that. You can shoot us an email at support@cebroker.com, or you can talk with us via live chat, which is this little icon down here in the bottom right. And like I said, that'll initiate our chatbot. Like I said, her name's Julie, to kind of get the conversation going. But if you need to actually talk to a human, you can obviously route that to speak with a human as well. then I mentioned this earlier, but I kind of glanced over it. But one advantage of having an upgraded account is that you do have access to our support center via telephone. And if you're logged in to an upgraded account, the phone number for phone support is displayed down there in the little question mark icon directly within the one of those upgraded account options. But I would, to your point earlier, Robert, if it's a question about interpreting the board's rules specifically, I would suggest that you contact the board with those questions. If it's about, the CE broker system, or maybe why, if it's not tabulating your compliance the way that you would expect, or a question around reporting or something to that something of that nature, that's where we would encourage you to make sure that you're reaching out to our platform. We'll be able to help you really quickly.
Well, I don't have anything else.
I think I just about covered all the points. And Robert, I think you mentioned before that obviously I said at the top of the webinar, this is being recorded. The recording will be available on the board's continuing education page alongside the previous webinar that we did in August. Then one other point that I don't think we've mentioned is if you participated in this webinar and you have some lingering questions, or you want to see something again, or if you have colleagues that you think colleagues or peers that you think may benefit from this as well, we are doing another one of these webinars in December on December 10th. And the registration link for that webinar is available on the board's continuing education page as well. I encourage you to participate in that one, certainly. So
Absolutely. Yep. We will be posting all of these materials, the video, the Q&A, as well as that frequently asked question document that we sent around. So hopefully we've answered the majority of your questions. And of course, as Daryl said, we have a long runway that we've established to be able to get y'all up and running very smoothly.
Excellent. Well, I'll just say again, thanks to you, Daryl, Robert, Patrick, for coordinating with us, for joining to host this webinar. And then thanks to everyone who took the time to participate. We really appreciate y'all leaning in and making sure that this is a smooth transition, because it is a new process. And like Daryl said, new things can be scary, but hopefully by being really proactive with this communication and this resourcing, we can make things go as smooth as possible.
Yeah, I'd like to just thank everybody for attending and just kind of all the participation. That's always good. But I do want to kind of reinforce and just ask folks, make sure you go read the rules, make sure everybody gets a good firm understanding of what the continuing education rules are. They're pretty well standardized across all the boards. So MFT's got a few little unique things. There's some uniqueness for LP, in terms of like supervision, CE required for supervision for LPCs, social workers, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's pretty well standardized across the board. Just really try to make a point to familiarize yourself with those rules, especially the 50% rule. I know there's a lot of confusion out there about that, and those rules have been in place for quite a while now. So we really need to get everybody up to speed on that, because change is scary, and then you couple change with not being familiar with what is being changed, or kind of the basics of it. So just need everybody to kind of focus on that a little bit. And like Robert said, if you've got any questions in the interim, you can always just shoot them to us through the Contact Us webpage. The administrative and executive leadership drop-down menu will just go to Robert and I. And then just make sure you use the tools that we have available on the website. Download the Q&As. They're pretty lengthy. You can see all the questions that were answered. So that's all I've got.
Excellent. Well, we'll say goodbye. And again, thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you all.
Take care.